Now we also have another special order of business today, and we want to since 2003, right, Ric? 2004. Okay. January 2004, Ric Cantrell has served this body and served it well. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. When the going gets tough out there in the media, I want Ric Cantrell in the foxhole with me here. And he's helped us work through a lot of issues in public relations, has served well as the chief of staff here for many years, and now is seeing that there may be some opportunity for him, which we are very excited about, but sad that we're not going to have that experience and that help here in the Senate. You know, I mean, nobody's ever be all, do all, end all. I'm sure we'll find somebody, but no, we're not going to be able to replace Ric exactly. And we wanted to recognize you, and Ric has brought his family with him today. And I don't know if everybody knows all your family, Ric, so maybe we'd have you introduce them.
This is my wife, Angela.
I think everybody knows Angela.
This is my 14, almost 15-year-old son, Jefferson. This is my niece, Courtney. This is my 16-year-old son, Ric Benjamin.
All right, thank you. So maybe, Ric, if I could have you come up here. We wanted to give you a token of our appreciation. Ric Cantrell, appreciation for the honorable service, Utah State Senate Chief of Staff.
Thank you. Thanks, President.
Thank you. And I know Ric would love if anybody would like to make some comments. We'd open it up for anybody who would like to make any expression. Senator Stevenson.
You know, when I came here, Ric kind of took me around his arm and he said, "You look like you're lost." And he has been a tremendous help and a friend through the process. President, I want you to know one of those trenches that I've been in with Ric is alcohol and prison relocation, and he's amazing. So thanks, Ric. Appreciate you very much. I don't think this friendship will end. I just feel bad if we won't see you as often. Thank you.
Senator Okerlund.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, when I first found out, Ric told me that he was going to be moving jobs, and the first thought that came to my mind was, oh no, you know, what are we going to do without him? Poor me, poor us. But then, as I had a chance to think about it for just a minute, I realized what an opportunity is for Ric at this point in his life and his career to be able to shift gears a little bit, move on, and how important it is for him to be able to do that. It must be for him to be able to do that, to leave this body that I know that he has loved and fostered tremendous relationships with, not only each of us, but our other staff members, the press, has already been mentioned. I have to say, soon after I was elected, during the summer following, we were in the small town of Kanosh down in Millard County. I think I was campaigning at the time. I ran into Ric and his family down there, and he had been out with a walking stick, and he came back with a snake, and this snake was ready to eat. So we were able to have a really good discussion about that and his love for rural Utah, my part of the state. I've always had fond memory of that, Rick. I just wish you the very most success and the very best in what you do, and we know that you're not far away and that you are more than willing to help us, and that we threatened Sean Reyes and he's not going to stop you. So.
I thought you were going to say turn the snake into a walking stick.
Close.
Which he has many times for us, by the way. Senator Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Be amiss if I didn't stand and salute Rick and the great job that he has done in his position. I know he was hired as a partisan to do a job to represent the majority party. But over the years, Rick has really taken his charge, and he's taken it to a point of bipartisanship. And the respect that has been shown to the minority party has been very great, and for that, we're grateful. And thank you, and hope that in the future we have the same type of structure to continue, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator Bramble.
Thank you, Mr. President. A few of us have had the privilege of being here long enough to remember the Senate without Rick and then his tenure here. And it's been interesting to watch him grow in wisdom and stature in that position on behalf of not only the Senate, as Senator Davis said, the majority caucus originally, and then the entire Senate. But I think we need to recognize his wife and his family because, many of us have had the opportunity to call on Rick literally at all hours of the day or night. And without Angela, without the family being supportive, that would be very, very difficult. I know in my case, forgetting what time zone I'm in or what continent I'm on from time to time, Rick would always answer his phone and do so with a smile and a can-do, helpful attitude. And that's something that is unique in today's world. So not only should we recognize Rick, but I think his family deserves a round of applause from this body.
Thank you, Angela.
Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Iwamoto.
I'm just going to say a short thing, but when I came in more recent than everybody else, Rick had us meet and told us what he did, and I didn't know anyone's role here then, but he said, I'm here for you as anybody else. So I took that to heart, and I think I bugged him a lot those first months. But he was always so professional and kind, and always took the time to explain things. So when I heard at NCLL he was leaving, I was very sad. But I think we should remember the AG's office at time of budget, that they took him. No. Anyway, thank you, Rick.
Senator Milner.
I just want to echo what Senator Iwamoto said. When you come into the Senate and learning kind of the ropes and how you navigate this body and how you get things done, and your door was always open and you were willing to provide really practical support and advice, and here's where you go and here's who you talk to, or here's how you get that done. And I think for new senators coming in, that's just an invaluable resource. And we're so grateful for all you've done. We look forward to continuing to work with you because you promised that you're still open to phone calls. So we will look forward to that and to continue to work with you on behalf of the state of Utah. So thank you, Rick.
Senator Knudsen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think I finally figured it out. Rick, he started over with the Attorney General, and then he comes to the Senate. And I've thought that through a lot, and I've decided he needed some training, and they sent him over here. Now that he's really worth something, we're going to send him back.
Senator Fillmore.
Thank you. As we've gotten, emails announcing this, we've been asked to try to think up if you have people who, you might refer to apply for this job. So I've been thinking. But there's nobody that has the wisdom and the talent and the temperament that Ric Cantrell brought to this job, which I've appreciated in my short time here. And I know as we walk by his office and see the door closed, it's kind of depressing these days. So that office door is going to be open again. Somebody will succeed him in this job, but no one could replace him. And he's got my gratitude for helping this institution and helping me be successful in this institution. Thank you.
Well said. Senator Weiler.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. I joined this body in 2012. About 4 to 5 years before that, I was working in the state party with Stan Lockhart, and he had asked me to kind of get ahead of this new thing called social media and start doing that on behalf of the state Republican Party. And when I went to the national convention in Minnesota, he wanted me to do something called Twitter and maybe do some things on YouTube. And I had no idea what to do. And so I said, is there someone that you can recommend that could maybe teach me and help me through some of these foreign concepts that you're talking to me about? And he said, well, call Ric Cantrell. He works for the Senate. He'll help you. And he did. And I was as I was in Minnesota at the national convention, I would call Ric, and he was very patient with me. I was nobody to him. He was very patient with me, and it's his fault that I've become what I am today. So
you created a monster. So that is one of Ric's signature accomplishments in the Senate. We have been technology savvy, social media savvy, probably as well as anybody in this country. So thanks to that, Ric. Senator Hilliard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was with former Governor Norm Bangerter shortly after he left office at a social function. And all these people came up to him and thanked him for the great job he had done. And he just turned to me and he said, where were these people when I was serving? If I'd have known it was this great, I'd have quit 20 years ago. So all the nice things are being said. I think my favorite response when I call Ric with a problem, he generally says, you did what? But we're able to handle it with the advice that he gave. I've appreciated the confidentiality I felt when I could talk to Ric about issues and get solid advice, and I think he protected the confidentiality of all other senators, and that's really an important trait to have. Senator Bramble mentioned the comment of how much Ric had grown, and I'll tell you, I'll bet Ric could tell us how much we've each grown. As he's seen us here develop in our Senate and the roles and the things that we do, we're not the same people we were when we started in this body. And I think we can credit Ric with that. And I really appreciate the great job you've done, and you'll always be a friend of the Hilliard family. Matt even likes you, so you're in good stead. Thanks, Ric, for the great job done.
Senator Dayton.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's events like this that mark the passage of time. I just wanted to also acknowledge Ric's family. On one of the nights when I was here late, it was a Monday night, his family was here, and they'd come up to have family home evening in his office so that they could see him. And since I was here, they invited me to join him, which was a delightful memory. But the boys were little boys then, so it's fun to have them back here again as young men and be here with the supportive wife and supporting Ric and what he's done. And I thought that was a very kind gesture, one of many that I appreciated.
Senator Vickers.
Thank you. Having come from the House and now serving in the Senate, we've seen one of the differences between the two bodies is that typically the Chief of Staff changes in the House with each speaker, and here it hasn't. And I have to tell you that I appreciate that stabilizing factor. And Ric, I don't know how you've navigated through a bunch of different presidents and different leadership, and so that's a tribute to you and your talents and abilities. But I do appreciate that steadying influence and the many good, positive, candid conversations we've had. And I look forward to, and as we talked, even when you called to explain to me that you're leaving, that, there's certain times, especially when you're serving here on the Hill, that there's opportunities to move around and maybe build a resume or, get different experiences. And I look forward to seeing you do well over there. Thank you for your service here. Thank you what you've done for me personally and for the body.
Senator Adams.
Thank you. There's no one better, not only with the media, but when things get tough, than Ric Cantrell. We've dealt with a lot of issues, not only personally, but as a Senate. And I've seen Ric step forward and help in very, very difficult times. And I don't think anybody will ever know. Ric knows what a lot of them are. But I can't thank you enough for what you've done for us. I know the AG is just downstairs, and I still got you on speed dial, so keep your phone close. But I wanted to personally thank you for what you've done, not only for me, but for the Senate. And again, thank you to your family who's been so supportive. Thanks, Ric.
Senator Stevenson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want everybody to know that I am responsible for more of Ric's gray hairs than any senator in this body.
It is true.
Somehow, the liberal media, I'm one of their favorite people. And sometimes when that bad press comes, and my tendency is to approach it and handle it in a way that might make it even worse. Ric was there to give me counsel and to teach me how to not throw gasoline on fires. And that was a real amazing thing to do. But I have to say that he and I have worked with fake news and how to deal with it long before Donald Trump made it a thing. And I'm just grateful that I've survived this 25 years in the legislature in large part because of Ric's counsel in helping me mitigate what otherwise could have been catastrophes. So thank you.
All right, thanks everyone. And thanks again, Ric and Angela and family. We appreciate you very much and wanted to honor you today. There are refreshments here just off to the side, so everybody enjoy, I think, cake, right? Okay. Ric, would you like to say anything? You could come right here.
I wondered if you were going to have me talk, and I thought about what I might say. I'd throw most of it away. You have said a lot of nice things. I'm also aware of my weaknesses and shortcomings. And I had lots of plans for what we were going to do different, how we were going to get better, more polished, train everybody up, get stronger. Sean Reyes called me and said, would you consider coming on board as my chief of staff? And I thought, not likely, but I'll consider it. And as I did, it had the phenomenon of it feeling like light switches were being turned on in my mind. And I knew in my gut that it was the right thing to do, and I don't know why. It's a lateral move. I'm taking a slight pay cut. I have the same title. It's a new arena, new adventures. Maybe that's why. It's not easy to leave. It's not easy to say goodbye. We're like, you guys are family. And I love each one of you. I love the staff organization. I thought what I might say. If I had another week to think it through, I might, produce something wise. But I did think of my top 10 lessons learned, words of advice I might like to share with you if we have just a minute. So if you'll bear with me, for what it's worth, as I was unable to sleep, I wrote this down on my iPhone OneNote, and maybe just share. Top 10 lessons that might provide some value. Of course, it might not. Number 10, these positions, mine and yours, are temporary entrustments for the people of the state. Perform them with honor so you can be proud, and your children and grandchildren will be proud. They're going to watch you. Your posterity, 100 years from now, will watch the live streams that we have going on and say, oh, that's granddad. That's my great-great-grandmother. And I hope you'll perform your jobs in a way that you will always, always, always be proud. No temporary perk, no donation, no dinner, no deal is worth sacrificing that long-term satisfaction that you rocked representing the people of your district. Number 9, The Art of War. It's a good book. It gives you lots of ideas. It lists several traits necessary in battle: intel, tactical advantage, troop morale, supply chain, everything else. And it says that generals who follow these certain number of principles will win most of the battles they fight. But then it also goes on to say, these are not your best generals. Your best generals are those who achieve their goals without expending the blood and the treasure and the lost relationships of going into open battle. In war and politics, anger is the most expensive emotion. President Niederhauser is a master of this. I've learned at his feet for 4 years now, 5 years now almost, and he's wonderful. The last budget negotiation we had with the House was bloodless, and it was awesome. I mean, nothing's perfect, right? But I've never seen it. In 14 budget negotiations, that was the best one. So the art of war, those who want to kill people and expend relationships, they're not your best generals. Find and follow those who know when to fight and when not to. Number 8, and I'll make these a little quicker. I know you guys want to go. Seek inspiration. I know by personal experience here that insight and help has come in such a way that there is no other explanation than that the Almighty takes an interest in each of you and in what happens in this room. That's just true. So seek that inspiration, and I think that will be provided to you. I think your stewardship will have greater power when you rely on that. Number 7, tip the pizza delivery girl. I mean that literally and figuratively every time. Number 6, what we do here is important, but none of this is worth missing out on your kids or grandkids. One of my regrets is so many nights staying late on now forgotten projects while my wife was alone. And my sons were 10. They're never going to be 10 again. So find balance. Number 5, if you want to go fast, go solo. If you want to go far, go together. Kind, smart, bipartisan inclusion solves 1,000 issues before they ever become problems. The Senate does this. Ralph and Jean, President Niederhauser, you guys are masters at that. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful to every one of you who contribute to that collaborative, bipartisan, omnipartisan atmosphere, because that's where we solve problems and get things done in a way that is good for all the state. Number 4, with citizens, authenticity beats polish. That is the heart of our work with the media. The barbecue rule works. And if we haven't talked about the barbecue, just ask any one of the staffers here. They know what it is, and it works with social media and interactions with citizens. Number 3, at the top of the budget food chain, at the top of the political food chain, people treat us better than we deserve. Value friends who love you enough to tell you the truth. Remember that. Number 2, the best way to, times of uncertainty, right? The best way to predict the future is to invent it. This group does great at that. And number 1, as technology progresses, clone John Ball and hire him for everything. And after that, clone Leslie. Seriously, your staff rocks. Leaving a staff group that I adore is the hardest thing about walking out the doors. I love you guys. I love the staff. They are smarter, better, more capable, more valuable than many people realize. Trust and value good people. They will come through for you. They will walk through walls for you. Our job is not exactly to make you look good, but it is to help you succeed in the work of representing the people of your district. And if you do that with brains and honor, you will look good. And you have. And for 14 years, I have been proud of you. Your smart, honorable actions. Since 2004, I've attended, and not just attended, but probably helped staff and at least compile the agenda for every caucus meeting that you've had in the majority caucus, every Senate leadership meeting, every joint leadership meeting with House leadership, every meeting between the Speaker and Governor and President, and 1,000 other meetings just with you and with other people. And I can say this, that if the citizens of Utah could see everything you do, privately and publicly, they would be proud. 97% of the time they'd be proud. Once in a while they'd be bored, but they'd be damn proud, and I am too. I'm proud of the chance to work with you. This has been one of the great honors of my life. That's it. Thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Outstanding, Rick. Thank you. Cake time.